All right, what's going on, YouTube? So I thought I'd hop on here today because people are always asking me, like, Andy, how did you get into cars, or what made you decide to start working on cars? So I decided I'd come on here today and just kind of share my mechanic story with all of you. And of course, it goes back to when I was in high school. I just turned 16, got me a car, and I needed to go in for a state inspection. And I went up to the Firestone up here, up the road. And this would have had to have been way back in like 2008. And I went in for a state inspection and it failed because it had a loose tie rod end, the outer tie rod end. The wheel had some free play, and they also failed me for the brakes. Um, and they gave me a quote while I was there for about $600. Now, I had just barely gotten my first job at the time. I was 16 years old, had a job at the bowling alley here where I live, and I was literally making minimum wage at the time. I think I was making $6.75 an hour, and I spent the only $1,000 that I had to buy the car in the first place. It was a 1991 Mercury Grand Marquis. We call it the Merc. Had some great times in that car back in the day for sure. But anyway, they gave me that $600 estimate, and I took that home. I had to get my car passed, because I had just got a car. I was 16. I was hyped to drive, and I wasn't going to let something like that stand in my way. I'm sure many of you guys can relate to what it's like, getting a driver's license for the first time. You got that freedom. So anyway, ultimately I ended up deciding that I was going to give it a shot, try to fix it myself. It wasn't, in hindsight, with what kind of work I do now, that was absolutely nothing. That was super easy type of work, but I decided to give it a shot myself. Luckily, I grew up skateboarding, and I had it was I know you can't see on the screen, but the case was probably as big as the top of my toolbox here. I had a case of tools that my grandpa got me for Christmas one year. Had all your basic sockets, ratchets, wrenches, screwdriver with bits, all that kind of stuff. It was like your basic 200 or 300 piece socket set. And so luckily I kind of had that advantage when I was starting out. And my stepdad had a jack laying around the house, so I pretty much had everything I needed for the most part. I think there was even a C-clamp in the basement too, so I really didn't have to buy too many tools. I might have had to buy like one or two small things, but ultimately with parts and everything, it only cost me about $150 to fix my vehicle. And I took it back up there. Luckily, I did everything successfully the first time. I didn't screw it up. I may have even purchased a Chilton manual and just kind of read it step by step. I'm the kind of person where if I have a problem come across my table, my life, whatever you want to call it, I'm not going to let it get in my way. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to take care of it, and I'm going to move on. And thankfully, I was able to do that back then. Got my car passed. We were good to go. And so that actually didn't seal the deal as far as me wanting to work on cars, believe it or not. That was not quite it. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't like, super awesome, at the time. However, when I was in high school, which was 2006 to 2010, I guess it'd be '05 to 10 because you start at the beginning of the year and then it changes. Anyway, so when I was in high school, the big thing was to have subs in your car. All the cool kids had them, and I wanted them too because I like music and I like my music loud. So I started saving up my money, what little bit of money I could save from my job, and I started buying the pieces one at a time. I got my wires first, I think, because that was like the cheapest thing, and it just like showed some commitment. I'm like, all right, I got my sub wires. It was like $70 too, just for some damn wires. So, saved up a little bit more money. I think that's when I bought the box. So I was like, you know what? It doesn't make sense to have these subs just chilling there if I don't have nothing to put them in. So I got the wires, I got the box. Then I finally saved up enough to get the subs. And I think by this point, I had already routed the wires through the car. Like I was ready to go. I was excited about this. So the only thing I had left was the amp. And that was, of course, the most expensive part of it. Eventually did save up enough money. I think it probably took me like 6 or 8 months to save up enough money to buy all the stuff I needed. Finally got my sound system hooked up in the Merc, and when I first heard it, that's what did it for me. That sealed the deal. I was like, you know what, I want to continue doing this. I just felt the total transformation of my vehicle from having just a decent sound system to a banging sound system. I mean, it was really awesome. And the fact that I was able to do that myself, which I guess I should mention, I did go up to Best Buy to the Geek Squad and just kind of priced it out to see, like how long or how much rather it would cost. And I think it was like $70. And, you know, that was another thing, like with the $600, I did it for $150. We'll just call it $200 because I might have bought a couple tools and a Chilton book. So I saved myself $400 there. And then I saved another $70 by not having the Geek Squad at Best Buy install my subs. And so I just felt very accomplished. I felt like, this was something that I could totally do moving forward. I didn't, decide that I wanted to do it as my career just yet, but I did decide that it was something that I wanted to learn more about. I was very, very into it at the time. So I started, just working on stuff whenever I could. Any of my friends that had a problem, like, hey, let me check it out. Let me see what's going on, see if I can figure it out. And then ultimately I decided to sign up for the auto tech program in high school. It's not offered by our high school, but there's a place, it's a career center right by our high school where they offer auto tech there. Unfortunately, I didn't decide that until my junior year. That's definitely something I wanted to go to school for. Had I decided for sure that that's what I wanted to do, that about a year earlier, I would have got that extra year of education, I guess, because it was a 2-year program and I did only do the second year, which was the first year, but it was as a senior. And honestly, I learned a whole bunch of stuff back in the day from Mr. Norris. If you're out there listening, thank you. Yeah, I definitely learned a lot of stuff there. Ended up getting my first job at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. That was my first start in the professional automotive, space, I guess. And that was my senior year, and I just felt great. I was a senior in high school. It felt like I was already kind of going to college in a sense because I was learning about the thing that I wanted to do for my career. And I'd finally got my first job in the automotive industry. I know that's where a lot of people start out, and I know there's a lot of screw ups that work there, unfortunately, but it's also a great place to start for people that are new and they're really trying to get their foot in the door. Just make sure when you're working up there at those kind of places, Valvoline, Jiffy Lube, make sure you're doing a good job, guys, because it's you guys that give them a bad reputation. You know what I mean? It's the people that are in there screwing stuff up. So really try to take your time and make sure that you're doing a good job, even at that lower level, because that's how you kind of move up. So, yeah, I've been on here for a few minutes now. Just kind of wanted to share my story as far as what exactly got me interested in working on cars in the first place. Maybe I'll make another video about all the different places I've worked since Valvoline in the automotive industry. But yeah, if you guys have any similar stories, I'm sure a lot of us kind of started out in high school But go ahead and post your story down below if you'd like. I'd be definitely interested in reading how some of you got interested or into the automotive repair industry. Otherwise, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys soon. Thank you.